All right, you guys. So obviously had a great time doing the podcast and just so glad to be still talking about sports, even with this whole entire outbreak. So I'm going to do my best for last here. I always do this on the show just to kind of, give everybody some insights of what I think may happen. So the best thing about best for last here is, well, we got free agency next week and lots of moves. I've been getting updates left and right here. We've had signings, trades already. The Baltimore Ravens beefed up their defense. And then, of course, some re-signings. Devin McCourty going back to New England. There's just been a lot. There's been a lot of things just happening here left and right. So my best thing that I will do is I will do a best for last of free agent predictions, where most of these free agents are going to go. And I'm excited for this one. So let's go ahead and start this out. So now I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to leave Tom Brady for last here on this one because I think it's reasonable. We're all talking about Tom Brady and where he's going to end up next week. So let's be fair and let's start with Dak Prescott. Okay, Dak Prescott, he's 26 years old, two-time Pro Bowl quarterback. And right now, there's just been the situation between him and the Dallas Cowboys. There have been a couple of real good projected suitors if Dallas doesn't end up working out. You've got the Chargers, the Titans, the Patriots, the Raiders, the Dolphins, and the Buccaneers. All of them sound really, really good. The only ones that I could take off would probably be the Dolphins, the Raiders, and the Titans. Now that they ended up getting Ryan Tannehill, Titans are definitely done at quarterback. They're not needing anymore. So my prediction with Dak Prescott, I think he's going to stick with the Cowboys. First of all, Dallas is going to pay Dak Prescott exactly the money that he does deserve. He's been dealing with a lot. He's dealt with Zeke's holdout. He's dealt with the franchise and where it sits at this moment. And they just changed coaches. They went away from Jason Garrett. They're now with Mike McCarthy. And who knows how this Dallas Cowboys team is going to play out. But I think Dak Prescott is going to get his money's worth with Dallas. And I think hopefully by next season, we may actually see Dallas now go and make some moves, maybe franchise tag Amari Cooper, but I'll have a little bit of that later on. All right, so Jadeveon Clowney. Okay, he has been plagued with a lot of injuries. I get that. But if you think about it, he still lives up to his worth, $20 million a year. And he's the type of guy that if you put him in a perfect defensive scenario, he's going to produce. Now, last year with Seattle, 3 sacks, it didn't really cut out for him. And that's okay. Like that sometimes happens for some defensive players. So there are a couple of suits: Giants, Colts, Bills, and Eagles. And I think the Eagles would be very, very interesting only because I know that they're already talking about getting Byron Jones from the Cowboys and signing him to a big time deal. But if you had to ask me what my prediction is for Jadeveon Clowney and where he's going to go, I keep saying it's the Indianapolis Colts because Darius Leonard and just these are lots of young pieces here on this defense, and I think they'll use him to his best abilities, and I think they're going to get enough out of him. So I think a 2-year deal with Jadeveon Clowney seems fair. I think Chris Ballard, smart general manager in Indianapolis, I think he's going to work this out beautifully. I think that'll be a perfect place for Jadeveon Clowney. All right, so Amari Cooper. Now, since coming to Dallas after the trade with the Oakland Raiders, Amari Cooper has been a huge X factor in Dallas's offense. He's a top wide receiver, very, very reliable, and they've been having some talks of, is he going to stay or is he going to go? I kept saying that if the Patriots wanted Tom Brady so bad that they should go and get Amari Cooper just to at least get a wide receiver who's young and produces and somebody that can at least be open in the backfield. So there are a couple of places: Eagles, Jets, Broncos, Cardinals, Broncos, and the Cowboys. So I think, to me personally, after what I just explained with Dak Prescott, I think it's smart enough that Dallas gets Amari Cooper and Amari Cooper stays. They're probably going to use a franchise tag on him, and it's reasonable because once you give Dak Prescott his preferred money per year, now that means you got to work on getting a number one receiver for him. And I think Dallas can do that. Dallas has at least the money cap to do so, and they're going to spend it on important players. This is definitely one of them because if you move away from Amari Cooper so fast, there's not a whole lot of number one wide receivers. And I know we're coming into a draft full of impactful wide receivers. And I just think that would be a dumb move for Dallas to move past him. But I think he's going to stay in Dallas. They're going to get a franchise tag, and eventually they're going to work over a big deal for him. All right, Shaq Barrett. Very, very, very good linebacker. He kind of had a little bit of some tendencies here and there. But the first season that he had with the Buccaneers, he had 19 and a half sacks, and his previous career was about 5.5. Shaq Barrett's he's a very energetic linebacker, and he's very important in some defenses. So there were a couple of good suitors: Buccaneers, Giants, Cardinals, Colts, and Bills. I mentioned about the Colts because I think that it's a very interesting team, young, could use some really good defensive pieces. But if you had to ask me if the Buccaneers right now seem to be in on Tom Brady, you got to at least give him reliable defense. So I think Shaq Barrett's going to remain in Tampa Bay. They're going to give him at least his money's worth. And this will now at least stick to the plan for Tampa to bring in somebody like Tom Brady so that he has a reliable defense, he's got a smart head coach, and he's got also an offense that he can work well with. So if you had to ask me, I think Shaq Barrett will stay in Tampa. I don't see him going anywhere else. If you had to think of like a second guess, maybe the Colts might do. It's a pretty interesting thought. All right, Derrick Henry. So I've mentioned about this, that Derrick Henry's coming off of a great season with the Tennessee Titans. The 238-pounder carried 303 times at his NFL best of over 1,500 yards. And Derrick Henry, he's gotten much more of the workload since DeMarco Murray left. And I've said this since he came into the league. He's going to get more and more reps, and he's going to be a reliable number one running back, and he's going to make it happen. Like, I see him run like how I did last year. He looks like a modern day Earl Campbell. You can't pass that up. So there were a couple of suits: Titans, Dolphins, Texans, and the Chiefs. Now, we know the Chiefs had already beaten the Titans before, and I know they're going to look maybe possibly for a running back. I don't think so. But I think if you had to ask me, Tennessee, after signing Ryan Tannehill, they're going to use the franchise tag on Derrick Henry. He's the one guy that is juice. He's a powerhouse. He's going to bust through all of the defensive lines. And if you lose a running back like that, Tennessee's just not going to work the same. So I think you're going to keep him, franchise tag him, because even franchise tags are not so cheap. So it's understandable. And I think Tennessee has a chance to make a run at it, but you do not want to give up Derrick Henry easily. All right, Byron Jones. So top defender, top safety out there on the market. Now, the only hard part is he's only had 2 interceptions in 5 seasons with the Cowboys. He's got value in him. There's some of it, but of course, only if you put him in the right systems. I already had mentioned before about Dallas, but let's just look. Eagles, Redskins, Giants, Cowboys, or Raiders, either one of them can work. Now, if you had to ask me where Byron Jones might work, because I just think that this team needs a lot of juice in the backfield, I think it's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. I think him with Jalen Mills would be a perfect fit. It gives them a lot of help up on that backfield. That was the one thing that Philadelphia struggled with and why they've had so many close games last year. I think putting Byron Jones there gives them a little bit more juice, a little bit more of an edge. maybe he might work under this system here with Philadelphia. I think it would be perfect. So putting Byron Jones in the middle of that mix, Philadelphia might, I think they might be back up in the line of being a contending team. All right, Phillip Rivers, because there's been a lot of talks about him possibly going somewhere. And I think he still has enough juice in the tank to play. I don't think he has as much, but I think he will settle somewhere that I know that he's needed. Obviously, the Chargers, they're done with him. It's over, and he's moved on. There were a couple of teams, the Buccaneers, the Colts, and the Titans. Well, the Titans now are off the list. Buccaneers, I don't think, want to end up getting Phillip Rivers. They've said more that they want to get Tom Brady. So if there's one team that I love seeing, and I think he's going to get a lot of help, are the Indianapolis Colts. What do the Colts have that Phillip Rivers did not have for years? An offensive line. He's got an offensive line. He's got T.Y. Hilton and Marlon Mack. He's got some offensive weapons out there, and that's the most important thing for Phillip, even for Chris Ballard. And I think what's interesting about this, you get somebody like Phillip Rivers, maybe for a 2-year deal, you can now gamble to whether or not you're going to trade up in for the next year's draft picks, possibly for a Justin Fields or a Trevor Lawrence, just to kind of like keep themselves on the radar for the AFC South. I think this could go well for the Indianapolis Colts, and having Phillip Rivers there with a healthy offensive line can work. I think he'd be happy with it. All right, so Cory Littleton is a linebacker who definitely can cover. He's very, very athletic, and there's been a couple of talks here and there. There's a couple of suitors: Packers, Patriots, Giants, and the Lions. I think right now with his athleticism and his ability to cover, if there's one team right now that I know needs a lot of juice, I think it's going to be the New York Giants. Bottom line, Giants have had no great defensive players. They've lost all of them. They've released at least a couple players, and they've had no juice. This defense has not looked intimidating. The offense right now is the only one that's already set. They've already got everybody up in place, but now with a new coach, special teams coach, in play, now they got to work up on that defense to start to at least eliminate some of the passes per yards and even throws downfield. But I think if you had to ask me, Cory Littleton would be perfect with the Giants. Jack Coughlin, very, very good offensive tackle, does provide a lot of coverage, but it's very, very thin. The offensive tackle market is so thin that you very rare will you ever find an offensive tackle that you could pay him a good amount of money and hopes that he stays healthy and he works on this offensive line core. So there were a couple of teams: Titans, Giants, Browns, and Jets. And Jack Coughlin, very athletic and very speedy on his feet, that he's going to be able to cover in all aspects for the quarterback. But if there's one place that needs an offensive tackle to help keep him, give him time in the pocket, and to at least throw to his receivers, I think it's going to be the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield needs help, because at this point, between him and how Sam Darnold's been playing, they're both running for their lives. But I think the Cleveland Browns, they need to fix what they gave up last year after getting Olivier Vernon. I thought that was an absolute big mistake. It now left the hole open, and Baker Mayfield's out there running for his life, no time in the pocket, and just to set himself up. So I think Jack Coughlin would be perfect in this fit. All right, Chris Harris. Now, a lot of people have been saying some things about Chris Harris, whether he's going to return to Denver or he's going to end up going elsewhere. He's already met with at least 24 teams since the Combine. And there are a couple of teams that have inquired about him: the Eagles, Chiefs, Redskins, Cowboys, Texans, and the Panthers. Now, there are a couple of teams that I know that are in rebuild modes. They're not even close to being, well, if we get a defensive player, we may win now. But this team, I can even inquire about the Chargers as well with their corners, their cornerback core. But I think they're already set to the extent. So if there's one team that I think will be perfect for a guy like Chris Harris, I think it's the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I said about Byron Jones, you putting Byron Jones right there up in the safety spots, Jalen Mills, and then, of course, having Chris Harris there at the corners. They need safety backfield help. Corners, safeties, everything. Because this team's been giving up a lot of yardage, and they've been giving up a lot of scores when the ball's thrown downfield. I think Chris Harris can work perfectly in this Philadelphia defense. Melvin Gordon. Now, I've made a lot of predictions about where he's going in the past couple of days. But there's been a lot of teams inquiring about him. The Bills, Falcons, Cardinals, Dolphins, and the Texans. Now, there's a couple of them I can eliminate there. But I've been hearing a lot of rumors saying that Miami's in play to getting a guy like Melvin Gordon. But I will say this again, and this has been my pick. If the Buccaneers are serious about winning right now and they want to go and get Tom Brady, there's only one piece that you're missing, and it's running back. And I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should go and get Melvin Gordon. Listen, last couple of years that Gordon has he's been ran for all-time highs, and he's been playing well for the last couple of years. So despite the holdout of the contract with the Chargers, Melvin Gordon's value still stands. And Tampa Bay has not had a real good run game in the last couple of years with trading off with Ronald Jones and so many others. It just hasn't worked out for them. But if you put Gordon in the mix, make him running back number one, you'll have a running back tandem. That's how it worked for the Chargers. They had 2, if not 3, running back tandems. There's no controversies involved with this, but at least it gives Tom some leverage. So even if he's got no receivers open, he's got a guy that can run and can catch. I would say watch out for the Buccaneers to go and get Melvin Gordon. Robbie Anderson. I've been hearing a lot about this. So I think Robbie Anderson here, he's a very, very good deep ball threat. And but the bids are not going to be high. So there's a couple of teams that inquired about him. The Jets obviously want him back. Dolphins, Patriots, Raiders, and Bengals. So there are a couple of teams that I know right now that are looking for some offensive wide receivers and ones that are very, very important. But if you had to ask me one team that I think could very much use his services, don't brush off the Las Vegas Raiders. I think they are in desperate measures to go and get a wide receiver, an experienced one, because everybody keeps on talking to me about Derek Carr and how he hasn't really produced. 70% of his throws completed, 4,000 yards, whether he has or he hasn't thrown downfield, it's not his fault. He has no number one wide receiver. So if you bring in Robbie Anderson, I feel like he'll be an important piece to this offense, and they can maybe go and get maybe one more receiver just to add more depth. But I think if you put him in the Raiders system with Tyrell Williams, Hunter Renfrow, Derek Carr will finally have somebody that he can throw downfield that's a deep ball threat, and the Raiders can finally solve their issues, and they can stop talking smack about Derek Carr. Austin Hooper. So I actually kind of like Austin Hooper. He's a very good productive tight end. Also will give you important blocks as well. He served well, even when Kyle Shanahan was there and Atlanta made the run to the Super Bowl. But he's very, very cap-strapped up to this point. So there are some numbers that you can give him, but I think if you give him a fair one, he's going to give you exactly what you need. So there are a couple of them: Redskins, Jaguars, Patriots, and the Bengals. So here's what's interesting. This team did not draft a tight end last year, and they've had problems, all sorts of problems. Teams didn't look the same. I think the New England Patriots might sweeten up a deal and go and get Austin Hooper because he serves two things. He's a blocker, and he's also a secondary receiver. Austin Hooper will give you exactly the important yards, and he'll be an important target when you need it. And he's also somebody that can cover the line if, in fact, tackle can't seem to guard his own. He'll be a secondary lineman there and gives extra time in the pocket. So Austin Hooper's very, very he's very important in this situation, and I think he would be fitting perfectly for the Patriots. All right, finally, the last piece to this whole puzzle. Tom Brady. Where is Tom Brady going to end up? So there have been a lot of rumors, been hearing them left and right. These were the suitors originally: Chargers, Titans, Patriots, Raiders, Dolphins, Buccaneers. I'm going to eliminate a couple of teams: Raiders, Dolphins, Titans, and Patriots. All those guys are eliminated. And I've said this, that it's going to be between two teams: Chargers and the Buccaneers. Let me just kind of break this down a little bit. Tom Brady, he's going to be looking for at least a 2, maybe a 3-year deal because he wants to play till he's 45. He is looking at every extent of head coach, offensive line, reliable general manager, and somewhere where he's needed. And I think that putting him in that system, he's going to change the offense. It'll be more efficient, and he's got weapons around him. If you had to ask me where I think Tom Brady's going to go, I think Tom Brady is going to be a Charger. All of you, you're looking at me right now like I'm crazy. But again, I can't be sure, but I make these predictions. Anything can happen this next week. Tom Brady, he's going into an organization that needs help to sell tickets and to build a fan base. There has been no fan base in this organization since the move out of San Diego. And they're in a position where they need to win now. Because I've been hearing a lot of rumors. Joey Bosa, if nothing gets done, he may end up going and playing with his brother in San Francisco. But those are rumors that have been said. But we'll see what happens. But before any of that happens, I'd say that if you get him, you fix up the offensive line. You've got Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, Hunter Henry. You've got depth regardless. And the general manager, Tom Telesco, he's a smart guy. It's not his issue. The real question of it is Dean Spanos going to pay him that money? That's everybody's question. Is Dean Spanos going to pay him that? I think he will. Because at this point, the Chargers need juice. And I think if you add Tom Brady in the mix, this is not going to destroy his career. Okay? It's not going to destroy his legacy. He's already got 6 Super Bowls on his belt. Yes, he's been with one team for the longest time, for 20 years. But look at what happened with Peyton Manning. Look at what happened with Joe Montana, Brett Favre. So many of these quarterbacks all throughout the years. It's not going to damage his career. And it's not going to damage his legacy. At the end of it, this would be a farewell tour. And I think that if he goes to the Chargers, he's going to boost this organization, and it's going to shut up all of the doubters, the critics about where this team's going and how this team will perform. This team's going to be on the radar of being one of the most competitive teams in the NFL by far. So there was all of my predictions. You guys can check it out here on YouTube channel and Twitch in case if you missed it. Also on the Podbean Podcast Network as well. I will have that uploaded for you guys. But next week's going to be interesting. I cannot wait for NFL free agency to start. It's going to be exciting and lots of moves to be made. So hopefully, again, my predictions may not be accurate, but I think these are by far the best suits that may happen. Not sure, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And I know for some people, they've texted me, asked me like, what am I going to do now with next week? And again, I was supposed to be up in Los Angeles next week, but now with NBA canceled, everything else, right now I just been sticking around here, doing a little staycation for the week. And I've put in my time, and now I finally have it. I've been granted that. So I don't know. I really, really don't know. But Me, I'm sure I'll find some activities or something like that, or maybe even binge watch shows or movies. I don't know what I might do, but it's going to be a lot of fun. All right. I mean, regardless of everything that's just been going on in the world, I'm not worried about that. I'm more just chilling, hanging out, and just having fun. That's really all that's the most important thing for me. And as I've said, birthday week, my birthday is only in about a couple of days until March 19th. And as I said, free agency is March 18th. The only thing that I can hope for as a pre-birthday gift, something to happen where it's going to just something that's just going to put a smile on my face. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for joining me here. It was such a pleasure to at least be on and talk with you guys. I will still be covering a lot of sports as well. Just because everything's been happening in the world today, it's not stopping me from covering sports. So check out my YouTube channel, Twitch account, and also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and like me on Facebook as well, just in case if you need to catch up on a couple of past episodes on the show. I will have that all uploaded here. So thank you guys for watching and tuning in. It's Jake the Snake signing off. Have a great weekend and a great week. And I will keep you posted on some episodes. I may even do a couple of episodes during the week. So we'll see. We'll see exactly what happens. So take care of yourselves. Be safe and be healthy.